All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to talk about one single viral number that has a ton of business leaders totally rethinking their AI game plan.
And here it is, 95%. That's the number that's been everywhere. A major report from MIT came out and said that a staggering 95% of enterprise GenAI projects are failing. I mean, the implication here is that billions and billions of dollars are just being thrown into a black hole, with pretty much nothing to show for it.
So you can imagine, a number like that, it's causing some serious anxiety. People are starting to whisper, is this the next dot-com crash for AI? But is that the whole story? Because when you start to dig into the details, you find something, well, a lot more complicated, and honestly, a lot more interesting. So, first things first, let's really get into this claim that's got everyone so worked up. What exactly did this big report say?
So, the report gives it this catchy name, the GenAI divide. And here's what that means. On one hand, you've got just this massive public hype. You've got companies pouring in, what, $30 to $40 billion? But then on the other hand, you have the cold, hard reality that most of these projects, they're not making a dent in the bottom line. No measurable P&L impact. Ouch.
So why is this happening? Well, the report points to a few key problems. The number one culprit is something they call a learning gap. Basically, companies are grabbing these amazing generic tools, like ChatGPT, and trying to force them into solving really specific, complex business problems. And, well, it's just not working. On top of that, they're spending money in all the wrong places, and get this, a ton of their own employees think the whole AI thing is just overhyped.
Okay, so that's the scary story. But this is where it gets really interesting, because there's a whole other side to this. A pretty powerful counter-narrative has popped up, and it says, hey, wait a minute. It points out some pretty big holes in that 95% failure story and suggests that maybe, just maybe, we're measuring success all wrong.
Okay, so the first big problem, and this one's a biggie, is how we're even defining failure. See that 95% number? It's only looking at these huge, custom-built, enterprise-wide projects. It's totally ignoring what the report itself calls the shadow AI economy. And what's that? It's millions of regular employees just using these tools on their own to get their jobs done faster and better. It's creating this incredible amount of value that's just not being measured. And here's another thing that's super interesting. The counterargument really takes aim at a core claim in the original report. This idea that companies are only focused on flashy stuff and ignoring the, boring back office things like logistics and operations. But the evidence? It shows the complete opposite is true. Some of the biggest, most concrete wins are happening exactly there, behind the scenes, far away from any marketing hype. And yeah, there are receipts. Let's look at Walmart. They didn't build some flashy chatbot. Nope. They focused on their supply chain, a super complex, high-value problem. And their in-house AI, it saved them $75 million in 1 year. That's not hype. That's a massive win for the core of their business.
Or how about JPMorgan Chase? They have an AI system that does the really tedious but absolutely critical work of reviewing legal documents. And the results are just wild. It does the equivalent of 360,000 hours of human work every single year. Think about that. It frees up their entire legal team to focus on the stuff that really matters. And it's not just in finance or retail either. Look at manufacturing. BMW put AI-powered vision systems on their assembly lines to spot defects. The result? A 60% drop in vehicle defects. I mean, come on. These are not small experimental projects. These are game-changing improvements to core operations. So here's the key takeaway, right? This is not another dot-com crash. That was about companies with zero product and billion-dollar valuations. Generative AI is actually delivering real, tangible returns on investment. What we're seeing with this so-called failure rate isn't a bubble about to burst. It's a market doing what markets do. It's learning. It's a natural and, frankly, a necessary learning curve. And all of this kind of leads to what might be the biggest misunderstanding in this entire debate, and that is, what is the real goal of AI in a company today?
You see, the original report looked at companies like Klarna, who tried to replace a bunch of staff with AI and then had to hire people back. The report said, see, AI failed, but the other side of the argument completely flips that. It says, no, that's not a failure of the technology. That's proof that we're thinking about it all wrong. And this really gets to the heart of the matter. It's like there's a fork in the road. One path is the flawed model, replacement, the idea that AI is just a tool to cut jobs. But then there's the winning model, augmentation, where AI handles all the repetitive, grunt work to free up people to do what we humans do best, Be creative, think critically, and come up with the next big idea.
And you see this winning augmentation model playing out everywhere. Look at CarMax. They used GenAI to crunch 100,000 customer reviews. That's a task that would have taken one person 11 years to do manually. Think about the insights they got. Or JPMorgan again. The AI doesn't replace the lawyers, it frees them from the boring stuff. Even in customer service, the best systems aren't replacing agents, they're assisting them.
Okay, so this brings us to the big practical question, right? If that 95% number is kind of misleading, what are business leaders supposed to do? How do you cut through all the hype and fear and actually build a strategy that works?
Well, it seems the path forward means shifting from this AI gold rush mindset to something much more disciplined. It seems to come down to three things. First, you need a roadmap. Use tools like process mining to really dig into your business and find the best spots for AI to make a difference. Second, you got to redefine what success even looks like. Stop looking just for a quick P&L boost and start tracking things like efficiency gains and quality improvements. And finally, and this is the most important one, design everything for collaboration. Build systems that make your people better, not systems designed to replace them.
And so all this leaves us with one last, kind of provocative thought to chew on. What if the real GenAI divide isn't between the tiny group of successes and the huge pile of failures? What if the real divide is much simpler? It's the divide between the companies chasing the hype and the ones that are just quietly, methodically, and smartly executing a real strategy.